Today we have a very special guest who is actually going to be talking about something that many of you are going to really appreciate, having spent so much time at home recently with your family and your pets. We will be speaking with Jyothi Robertson, who is a principal consultant for ADISA Group, and she's going to be talking to us about how to manage staying at home with your spouse and your children and your pets in this time of COVID. Hi, Jyothi. We're so happy to have you. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I am doing really well, and I'm really happy to be here to be able to share my experiences with people.
You are first and foremost a mom. You have 3 children. You're also a veterinarian and a world traveler and very, very busy consultant. And, it's hard being at home with your children while you're video conferencing and your spouse is right there with you. So I was thinking that today we could talk a little bit about what are some of the things that we can do to really manage this and mitigate the stress involved.
My oldest is a teenager, my youngest is a preschooler, and for the past 10 years, I have been juggling working full time and also serving as an educator, a homeschooling mom, custom schooling parent, and the work life. And it is a juggling act. And this is very unusual, even for experienced people like myself.
Can you talk a little bit about what some of the challenges are that you're learning about from other working parents? What are they facing right now? You know what? My dog keeps moving around. I have to ask you that question again. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. We're experiencing it right now. Will you take Winston in the other room? Because I'm doing an interview about this very issue.
But it makes it seem more real. To be honest, I think it's great that this is happening in the interview, because this is exactly the type of challenge that I'm hearing about. Like, I actually think that we should just keep continuing.
Okay, that's fine with me. So talk to me a little bit about what the biggest challenges are that balancing home care and working from home. What are the things that parents are really grappling with?
So I think that probably the biggest challenge that comes up is that none of us were prepared for this, right? This is a radical adjustment in how we parent, how we work, how we educate. We're being asked to do so many things at the same time right now, and that's very different. And what it does is it raises all those doubts and insecurities that we already had about being a parent. Are we spending enough time with our children? Are they spending too much time in front of a screen? Do we need to engage with them more? Do we have enough time to get our work done? Like, how do we manage what our day actually looks like? And then for some people, some of us, we really want to get back into work, right? We feel so passionate about the work we do with animals that we want to be at the shelters, at our veterinary clinics and so on, but we can't because we don't have childcare suddenly. So that brings up these other issues of, feeling a little bit like we're letting our team down potentially because we're not fully present for our work. And then we're also letting our families down because we're not even fully present there, right? So we're trying to balance these needs, and that can be pretty overwhelming and make us feel somewhat mediocre. And we're not used to that. We're a lot of us are such leaders in our field, just go, 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 and to suddenly feel this insecurity about maybe not doing the home life or the work life well, that's a real adjustment.
Are there some structures or routines that can be created to help children stay motivated while isolating at home?
Most definitely. And I think the really key thing to think about when forming structures is to think about what's the developmental stage of your child. So my preschooler has a very different schedule than my teenager. my preschooler has a visual schedule with photos and showing when snack time is and what time is playtime. And there's a lot of tactile activities that I have already preset for him around the house. So, blocks, magnetiles, things like that. Some of it involves some adult supervision, and they do have shorter time blocks. So if I'm thinking of a 10-minute time block for my toddler, about 2 minutes of that might be really focused. So that's a little bit different. And luckily for me, I have older children who can occupy him. That may not be the case for everyone. For my older children, for my teenager, I expect that she creates her own routines and schedules, and that we have real time blocks set aside for when we're all going to connect as a family and when she's doing her homework. And the key there, it's the same key that we think about in animal welfare, I think, is that we have to have really good positive reinforcement, right? So think of dog training. It's amazing how similar kids are. And that when we think about modifying behaviors, right, positive reinforcement works wonders. And so if we have really good rewards, then you're more likely to get something done. So if we set up maybe a 15-minute work block for children and then give them a reward of a sticker or a star, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, that can be motivating. And we can do the same exact thing in our lives, right? So I set 50-minute calls if feasible, and that's really important. I try to make my calls 50 minutes so I can take 10 minutes to go check in on my kids. And that 10 minutes is really important because they know, okay, mom's still here, she's paying attention. And for my teenager, it tells her, okay, 50 minutes are up. She actually uses it as a clock. For my younger ones, it's just enough to be able to check in with both of them. And then I give myself a reward too. And it can be as simple as, hot chocolate or something. But it's important that we all, recognize that this is really new and that creating these schedules are new. So we need to cut ourselves a little bit of slack, and that there are ways to really modify them to help ourselves have time to do good work.
Just those small little enjoyable things in life that you sort of maybe didn't pay attention to before, all of a sudden are very amplified. So are there online resources that parents can really turn to really help them navigate this right now?
Yes, there are. As a homeschooling parent, I was a little bit opposed to screens, to be honest, for the longest time, because you feel like, uh-oh, my child's going to be stuck in front of a screen. And, this whole experience has shifted that. I've suddenly recognized that there are all kinds of amazing resources out there that are being placed for people for free that normally you would have had to pay for. And some of them are really, really interactive, like teachers are teaching your child. So online G3, OutSchool, live online math. These are just a few examples of really great programs that have openings for anyone to join those. And then many of our schools for our children have transferred a lot of their curriculum to Google Classroom or other platforms for kids. So there's an expectation that children are still doing their schoolwork from home. The problem with that is there often isn't the instruction. So if we can augment that with some of the other online programs, we can hopefully keep our kids occupied during our phone calls and our other work so that they have some instructional materials. For younger kids, things like Brain Pop and Brain Pop Junior have been fabulous. And I am putting together a resource on our ADISA group website, just listing a whole bunch of those websites for people to look at if they're interested in that. I do think it's a time to really potentially rethink some of our values around screen time and to recognize this isn't going to be like this forever, right? So let's use the resources that we have available and get through this together. I think the most important thing we can do as parents to be really engaged with our children is to spend time with ourselves, to actually block off space to rejuvenate ourselves, to, take 10 minutes in the morning to write in our journal, or to go run. Or in my case, I picked up the ukulele, which I'm not good at it, but when I play it, it forces me to stop thinking about my work, my children, everything
Mm.
else. And it has me focused in on me. And having that break will make you more engaged and resilient with your children. And that's something as parents, we and anyone, we tend to forget. We want to help everybody else, and we need to take that pause for ourselves in order to be the most caring, empathetic mom or dad that we can be for our children. And they will be asking a lot from us. And then when engaging with our children, I do think that it's really important to really stay present to them and try to come up with routines in your day that are check-in routines. I mentioned the 10 minutes, but it could also be at the end of the day where you just check in and say, what worked well today,
Mm.
and what didn't work, what were some of the disappointments you had about today, and what can we do differently for tomorrow. This is an unusual time, right? It's not going to be like this forever, so maybe use it as an opportunity to connect.
Are there ways that parents can connect with other parents who are going through this?
There are some open Facebook groups. Amazing Educational Resources is one of them that has a lot of parents sharing information. And then through ADISA, we're putting out a parent circle that's open to anyone in animal sector, whether they work in conservation or front lines in the shelter or veterinarians. We plan to have a series of 3-week meetings where we'll bring together different parents and share our thoughts, our stories, resources. And so hopefully people will join us for that offering, and maybe we can continue this dialogue. I mean, definitely especially in the animal sector, sometimes we don't acknowledge that many of us are parents, of children with families, and we are very focused on our work and we're very passionate about the animals, but we also have our families to balance. So this is an opportunity for all of us who are in the animal sector to also connect over our family roles right now.
That will be really a wonderful gift to give our colleagues, is an opportunity to find a sense of balance and support, and just to bolster confidence around managing during this time. We really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate your asking me to do this as well.